Welcome to the Mike Litton Experience podcast. Mike has over 31 years experience in real estate, finance, and investing. He's passionate about being a father, a teacher, a realtor, an investor, and a leader. Everyone has a story, and our passion is to help them tell it. And now, introducing the host of the Mike Litton Experience, Mike Litton.
So what can you expect from the Mike Litton Experience? You can expect stories that will inspire, motivate, advice that will sharpen your focus, and expert information on real estate, finance, and market conditions.
Office, right? So the first day, so I couldn't deliver my desks, my computers, or anything like that until April 1st. She was going to give me the key. Right? So I rearranged everything and I got to the office here at 6 a.m. and the delivery company brought the desks at 6 a.m. The office was empty. They brought the desk, they built them, the computers were brought, the tech representative installed all my computers, and it was the craziest 3 hours of my life because we opened at 9 a.m. and the phone was going to start ringing.
That's right.
Right. So everything worked as planned, thankfully. Nothing went wrong that day. So we opened, the desks were in, and then we had to do basically a remodel for the next 6 months
Right.
during like late time, right?
Yeah.
Business hours or after business hours. So I became the jack of all trades.
Right.
I helped my cousin who's a painter, or licensed contractor. Like I was his helper to paint my office. We put the floors, we redid my whole office, and it took about 6 months in order to complete the whole project because we didn't have any access prior to April 1st.
Yeah, that's kind
Right.
of
So
rough, but you rolled with the punches, right?
yeah, exactly. I'm like, and that's kind of what I realized. Like I've had, I guess life gives you calluses, right? So all this is, I learned to appreciate the hard times,
Right.
right? Because if it wasn't for hard times, like I wouldn't know what a good day is,
That's right.
and just putting all the work and rolling with the punches, like you said, just kind of made me into this person that anytime anything bad happens, I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, let's do it, right?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, like, what's the worst that can happen?
Right. Yeah, you just got to take it on. You got to go. It's the telltale story of an entrepreneur, right? When you own your own business, it stops with you. It really does. And so you have to figure it out. And you're right. There's all kinds of curveballs that are thrown your way, and you just got to figure out a way around them. You got to figure out a way to deal with them and make it through. So that's awesome, man. What a great story. So April of 2014. So you're coming up on your 5th year anniversary in April of 2024.
Yes.
Right.
So we're coming up to 5 years.
Congratulations, man. So and then you got a birthday in November, right?
November 13. Yes, sir.
Happy birthday early, right?
Well, thank you.
So for those that don't know, we're actually taping this at the end of October of 2023. So your fifth anniversary is a few months away, but it's that's exciting, man. So the last 4 years or so, 4.5 years, what's that been like? What's the Sal Cerda of 4.5 years ago versus the Sal Cerda of today?
I think it's been the best 4 years of my life.
Awesome.
Like it's just that simple. Even the first year it was the hardest, right? And when I talk to other agents or anything, they're like, "Oh, it's the worst," and I'm like, "That's funny." I'm like, "Cause for me, it was the best years. For the best 1 year for me was my first year, because that's the year that I grew exponentially the most, probably in my whole life. Because at the beginning is like I was wearing 10 different hats to run the business.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, I gotta do payroll. Okay, well, let's figure it out. Oh, I gotta do this. Let's figure it out. Ooh, and little by little, I started mastering other sides that I never knew I could. Right. And then as my business, when we we actually doubled our business now. So when I got the book, it was $1.7 million book. Now we're at 3.4 million. In the 4 years, we doubled it, which is amazing.
Congratulations.
And
That's
and
awesome.
and as it's been growing, I've been expanding, right? So now I have more team members. I have more people that can wear different hats, and it has given me the opportunity to be who I want to be.
Okay.
Like I want to be with my wife. I want to spend more time with our 3-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be a beacon of motivation for San Diego. Like I even started another business
Mm-hmm.
earlier this year,
Okay.
and it's just it's like the dream job, the dream business that I could have never even thought about it. Like
Okay.
I never thought I was going to be doing something this amazing.
Okay. What is it?
Well, what I'm doing right now, State Farm,
Right. State
right?
Farm. But
Just it
what's
gives
the
me
new
so
business?
much. Oh, the new business is Rise to 99,
Okay.
right? So it's a motivational speaking engagements that I do for individuals or companies, and I started that one in February of this year.
Okay.
February 11th was my first gig.
Okay. So tell us about it. Where was it? What did you talk about?
So I was invited to a fatherpreneur. Luke Jensen hosts an event twice a year, and in this case, in February, was for fathers,
Okay.
right? So it was a group of like 10 people, and I just went and I was talking about 5 steps
Mm-hmm.
that I realized I went through in order to become the best version of myself,
Okay.
right? So basically the first step that I had to go through was acceptance, right?
Okay.
Like I mentioned, like in my initial working days, I was, or even school, like I was always pretending to be somebody who I wasn't because I didn't like myself,
Right.
right? And then the first step was accepting myself,
Okay.
right? And then after I got the wet and reckless, that's when I started working on accepting myself for who I was.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know what, Sal? Like I love you for who you are, and we can make some adjustments.
Okay.
I just because I learned that in order to tame something, you have to name it first,
Right.
right? If I just ignore, because I was just ignoring and living a bliss life, and if you just keep ignoring it, then you're never gonna be able to address it,
Right.
right? So I started giving names to everything that I had, all the good, all the bad, and then working. If I like it, I keep it, and if I don't like it, what do I have to do in order to change it,
Right.
right? And then the next step is perspective shift, right? So start seeing things at your favor, right? So one thing beautiful about humans is that we make our own minds. Like
Mm-hmm.
every single mind is different. There's almost 8 billion people, and everybody thinks something different,
Right.
right? So I started shifting my mindset, and that's where I got the, like, every adversity brings equal opportunity,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because every bad thing is can be turned into a good thing,
Yeah.
right? So I started turning like that when I was raised as a kid, that type of life that we had, I'm like built calluses in my life, made me stronger as a person,
Mm-hmm.
that I don't really get stressed too much anymore. I feel like anything happens, I'm like I'm the coolest person in the room when chaos is happening, because I'm like I've been there.
Yeah.
Nothing's gonna happen. Like we can, power through it or go through it. Um, the third step is forgiveness.
Mm-hmm.
I had to learn how to forgive not only everybody around me that hurt me,
Mm-hmm.
but most importantly, forgive myself.
Yeah.
Because I think that we all want to be this immaculate person, but we're all perfectly imperfect.
Yeah.
And just kind of forgiving myself for doing what I did to my body, doing what I did to the loved ones, and just starting like a clean slate
Mm-hmm.
for myself. And um, so when I did that, it allowed me then to move to commitment to the future me.
Okay.
So I just like I do, and I still do it right now. Like I do it often, like just close my eyes and I envision who I want to be, what changes I want to make in my life, right? And then I start working on the littlest thing, because I believe that every day you're either 1% closer to the person you want to be, or you're 1% farther from the person you want to be, right? And then every little decision that I make has to get me to the person that I want to be, and I have to commit to that.
Right.
Whether it be eating healthy, going to the gym, even if on the days that you're like, I feel tired, I'm gonna just show up, and you're half the battle is done just by showing up.
Right.
Right.
100% of success, baby.
And then the fifth and final step that I worked on was cultural change.
Okay.
Again, based on where I was raised, the people that I was hanging out with, I realized that you truly become like who you surround yourself with.
Yep.
And I, at a young age, decided to cut ties with a lot of people that I consider to be my friends, a lot of people that I told that, hey, we're going to be friends forever, right? Because I realized that the life with alcohol, the life of like parties all the time, spending all your money and this and that was not aligned with what I wanted to be.
Right.
I started cutting all the relationships that brought drama, that brought chaos into my life, and I lost a lot of friendships and quotations that just were not good for me.
Right.
It's kind of trimming everything. And as I've been doing that and recycling this 5 steps, I've seen myself evolve and evolve and evolve, and then just continue to grow. And my wife and I are excited just to see what's in the future. Like, if it's this good right now, how good could it be once we start breaking through the next barrier and the next barrier and so on,
So Luke Jensen has been on our podcast.
He's a great guy.
He was a guest on our
Love him.
podcast a few weeks ago. He's amazing. Absolutely amazing. The energy that guy has is just palpable, man. It is so cool.
Yes,
so
it is.
We really enjoyed our time together. So you have this new gig, this new company, right? So you're speaking publicly, and you're motivating and inspiring people, right?
Yes.
And then you also have this State Farm franchise that's coming up on its 5th anniversary. So what's next for you?
So there's the objective is to get an additional office.
Okay.
Right. So it's not too common, but there's in San Diego, there's, I believe, 3 agents that have 2 offices, and there's about 90 to 100 agents just in San Diego County. Right. So then the objective for me is to get a second office, hire a manager to manage one of the offices, and then I can manage one, and eventually hire a manager, an additional manager, and then just kind of step away from being in the office every day, right? And then I can focus. So every hour, every 5 hours, 4-hour increments that I spend less in State Farm, I can spend more on my other business, Rise 299, to start getting more engagement, more touching more people's lives, little by little.
So two agencies, 2 offices, right? You leverage yourself with managers in both, and now you're off to the races with Rise to 99.
Exactly.
That's awesome, man.
That's the objective.
Awesome. Congratulations. I'm happy for you. So let me ask you this. You mentioned that you are into continuing education, right? You never want to stop learning, that kind of thing. And you said you started reading books, business books, that kind of thing. What's your favorite?
Let me see. I'm looking at my bookcase over here, and there's this book that I have so many favorites, but Rich Dad, Poor Dad is one that I really liked. And then one that I read recently is called The Spartan Mindset by Reed Maltby. And Reed is actually one of my mentors. Like, he's the one who helped me kind of put the puzzle together when I was in State Farm about 8 years ago, and it's so funny because it's something that I wholeheartedly believe in, that the power of words, every one little word,
Mhm.
3-letter word makes a huge difference. And his book is all about the power of words,
Yeah.
right? Like adding yet, like I haven't done this yet,
Right.
or little things that you can shift instead of saying I'm trying, is I'm doing, and his book is just all about that. And I've recommended that book so many times to a lot of people because I think that people sometimes use words very lightly,
Right.
and sometimes either they don't know or they forget that words have a lot of power and can bring, manifest a lot of things into existence just by speaking what you want, like we're
I
like
agree
we're
with that.
doing right now.
I agree with that. So
So
you have a thought, right? You have a thought in your mind.
mhm,
And then once your thought in your mind becomes speech, right? It's manifested,
exactly,
right?
becomes real.
So yeah, it's confirmed. And so that's the big part, is you're looking at the world. So tell us what the Spartan mindset is.
Yeah, so it starts the book with, I think it was a quote from the movie Sparta, the 300, right?
Okay.
Which I think everybody has seen, right? And then they're getting a letter saying like, "Hey, we're gonna come invade Spartan,"
Hmm.
right? But in that letter, it said something like, "We're gonna," uh, uh, I'm gonna chop it, but let's say it says something like, "We're coming and we're going to invade your land," and then, for example, soon,
Okay.
right? And then Spartan, the Spartan representative there, they say that they were known to speak very little, like they knew the power of words, and then that they just answer with one word, and it said something like, it circled, I think it circled soon, or it made, darn, I wish I could like read it, but
It's okay.
basically it just says that with one little word that they replied back to the enemy was afraid to come after them,
Right.
right? And then it talks about Reed's life and transition into coaching, because he's also a coach, and how the power of like a high five, something so simple, can go so far. The power of the word yet, try, um, and he gives a lot of details and scenarios where that one little word made the whole difference for himself or for somebody that he was coaching for the sports.
Yeah. So it's like you're talking to somebody and they're like, hey, I can't get this done. Right. And
Yeah,
then you
exactly.
have them change it to, how can I get this done?
Exactly.
What's the best modality to make this happen? That type of thing, right? It's a
Exactly.
different way. It's a different take at looking at things. And I totally agree with you. You can look at any situation, it doesn't matter what it is. But if you look hard enough, you'll find a positive.
Of course.
You'll
Exactly.
find something positive about it, right? Even though it may be terrible, it might be a tragedy, it might be incredibly negative. There's usually always, if you look hard enough, there's something positive that comes from it. So it's cool. I'm a
Yes.
big believer that God's preparing us every single day with all of the trials and tribulations, all the things that we're dealing with, that He's preparing us to be able to pay it forward. One of these days, you're going to be somebody's Reed,
Yes.
right? One of these days, you're going to be that person. You're doing it now. This Rise to 99 thing is you getting on stage and being somebody's Reed, right?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Okay. You're paying it forward. You're out there giving back what you've learned. And that's a big, big deal, man. That is bigger than most people realize. It's what Luke does too,
Oh yeah.
right?
Well, he's the one
So
that got me. So this year, I never thought about opening or creating a business for Rise to 99. Like I just told my wife in December, we're talking about like, hey, what do we want to do next year?
yeah.
And I was like, you know what? Like I want to do some motivational speeches. I want
Mhm.
to do two. I see myself doing one around August, like preparing for it, because I had started to write thoughts and stuff like that that I had created. And I spoke with Luke in December, and I told him, right? He was like, "Oh, that's cool, like go at it, like you can do it." And then on February, that's when or actually January, like a couple of weeks later, he sends me a text and he's like, "Hey man, I have this event on February 11th, and I would love for you to come speak." And he mentioned like, "Why don't you just make it a business?" And I was like, "Well, shoot, I didn't think it was gonna be this soon,
Mhm.
but let's do it."
Let's
Right? Because
go, baby.
I was
Let's go.
terrified. And I was actually reading that text earlier today. I was looking for something that Luke had sent me.
Mhm.
And when he texted me, I replied like, "You just give me butterflies right now."
Mhm.
Because I was terrified, right? Because I'm like, I got like 2 weeks to write up a speech, 30-40 minutes. And I'm like, and I just told myself, I'm like, what am I going to regret more?
Mhm.
Doing it and flunking it,
Mhm.
or never doing it and never knowing what it could have been?
That's it.
And I'm like, screw it. And I'm like texting him like, I'll do it. I'll figure
Yeah.
it out, but
Yeah.
I'll do it. See what
It,
happens.
it's kind of like the David Goggins thing, right? I don't know if you've read David Goggins' book,
I've read one book, yes.
but the deal is you have this thing in your brain that will stop you from doing things that are good for you. It'll stop you from taking risks. It'll basically be this voice that's yelling at you in your head. Don't do that. Don't jump off that cliff. Don't jump out of that plane. Don't, right? Whatever
Yep,
it is. Don't give that speech. Okay.
exactly.
It's trying to protect you. And people like David Goggins and Chris Voss and some of these other people they're huge top performers. Tom Ferry's another one, right? They will tell you publicly, that as soon as they get that, as soon as that voice kicks in, they know they're on the right track,
Exactly.
right? That's their clue. That's their cue to go, right? Luke's the same way. Luke's the exact same way. So yeah, it's cool, man. That is really cool. I am super proud of you. I'm
Thank you.
super proud of you. This is very cool how you're giving back and paying it forward. That's awesome, man. That's really cool. We're a better world because you're doing what you're doing.
Thank you, Mike.
Seriously. Okay. I'm proud of you, buddy. Is there anything else you'd like to talk about?
It's just today I give a presentation about just being mindful about your surroundings,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because again, like I feel like that was the biggest thing. And I was talking, one of my stories is there's bisons in Catalina Island. Have you
Mm-hmm.
ever been to Catalina Island?
Yeah.
There's bisons there, and they're smaller than the American bison, which they are American bison, but they're smaller because they've been there for like 100 years in a little island,
Mm-hmm.
right? And they're like 400 pounds less on weight than the average American bison, and the reason is because they're somewhere where they don't belong.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes we are in places where we don't belong, but that does not mean that we cannot be or change where we are,
Right.
right? So always be mindful about your surroundings, because either uh, like if you had a fire inside of you, the people around you are either going to give it more and make it a bigger fire, or they're going to take away from your fire, take your spark away. And
Try to
I
anyway. Right.
try to, exactly. And I think
Yeah.
that when I realized that, and when I share this story or with other people, and they realize that's one of the biggest game changers uh, anybody can do. It's just change your surroundings.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool, man. My dad, years ago, I went to my dad and I was going through this sort of tough time. And he literally said to me, he said, listen, I've never seen anybody in my life work as hard as you. And this is a man who has a work ethic you wouldn't believe, right?
Hmm.
I mean, 7 days a week is normal for him, right? To work.
Yes.
And I mean, I'm talking working 12, 14 hours a day, like your dad,
Wow.
right? Just
Hmm.
incredible work ethic. And for my dad to tell me that he admired my work ethic and that really what I needed to do was go somewhere where they valued me, right?
Yes,
Completely
sir.
changed everything. It changed everything. And I did that and never looked back, right? So it's, you're absolutely right. Your environment is everything, right? And it's you want to be very, very careful about where you go and where you spend your time, and like you said, who you hang out with.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Love it.
Oh, cool, man. Well, listen, Sal, thank you so much. I cannot thank you enough for your time. I know that you've already inspired and motivated me. I know for a fact you're going to people that have the opportunity to listen to this. Thank you again for your time. I wish you all the success. If there's ever anything I can do to help you, please reach out. It was great to get to know you today, buddy.
Thank you very much, Mike, for having me here.
Thank you so much. We hope you enjoyed another episode of the Mike Litton Experience. If you did, do us a favor, smash that subscribe button, tell your friends, family, and coworkers about our program, and wherever you get your podcasts, please leave us a rating. It helps us to connect with quality people just like you.
And that's a wrap. Another episode of the Mike Litton Experience in the books. Reach out to Mike on Instagram at Litton Realty. Want to meet with Mike? Check out calendly.com/Rio760.